Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving right into the middle of a massive legal war, one that could literally define the future of creativity. We're breaking down the huge lawsuits pitting artists, writers, and musicians against the AI companies that are training their models on all of that creative work.
All right, so here's the game plan. First, we need to understand why AI is so hungry for data in the first place. Then, we'll explore the legal battles raging over words, images, and music. We're also going to look at a really key court ruling, hear what an expert thinks, and finally, try to figure out what this all means for the future of creativity itself.
So what's really at the heart of this whole conflict? Well, it all boils down to one simple, unavoidable fact. For an AI to get smart, it needs to eat a truly staggering amount of data.
Have you ever stopped and wondered how tools like ChatGPT or Midjourney can create things that are so incredibly sophisticated? It really feels like magic sometimes, doesn't it? But it's not magic, it's data. A mind-boggling amount of it.
The secret is that these AI models learn by ingesting these gigantic digital libraries of human creativity. All that information is scraped from all over the internet, and that very often includes creative work, news articles, novels, songs, photos, that's protected by copyright law.
And this brings us right to the central legal argument that the AI companies are leaning on: fair use. They argue that using copyrighted work to train a model is not the same as just illegally copying it. They claim it's a transformative act, that they're creating something totally new, like an analytical tool, instead of just a replacement for the original. But as we're about to see, the creators and publishers, well, they see things very, very differently.
So let's jump to the first major battleground in this whole conflict: the written word. This is where some of the biggest names in publishing are starting to really fight back.
So late 2023 rolls around, and bam! The New York Times files this landmark lawsuit, making it the first major U.S. media company to sue OpenAI and its partner Microsoft. And their claim? That millions of their carefully reported articles were used illegally to build ChatGPT, which they see as a direct competitor.
Now, what's so fascinating here is the core of their argument. It's not just that their work was copied. It's that their own journalism is being used to create a product that could one day replace them as a trusted source of information, all without them seeing a dime. And believe me, it is not just news organizations. The Authors Guild, which is the biggest professional group for writers in the country, has launched its own class action lawsuit. You've got novelists and nonfiction authors arguing that their books were fed into these models without any consent, totally undermining the value of their life's work.
But this fight isn't just about books and articles. Oh no. The battle lines are now spreading across the entire creative landscape, from visual art to the music we listen to every day.
That first wave of lawsuits we saw from authors and journalists, that was really just the opening shot.
Because right after that, you have Hollywood stepping into the ring. Studios started targeting image generators like Midjourney. Their lawsuit claims that the AI was trained on their copyrighted movies, letting it just spit out brand new images of iconic characters like Darth Vader without permission.
And now, the latest front in this war? It's music. We're talking about industry giants like Sony and Universal. They're now suing AI music generators Suno and Udio, claiming these companies are just stealing popular songs to create new music from a simple text prompt.
And this number right here, it just shows you the insane financial stakes we're talking about. The music labels aren't just saying, hey, stop doing that. They are seeking damages of up to $150,000 for every single song they claim was stolen for training data.
Okay, so with all of these massive lawsuits still up in the air, we don't have a lot of definitive answers just yet. But there is one major case that might give us a little peek into how the courts are starting to think about this incredibly tricky issue.
Let's talk about the AI company Anthropic. And a number: $1.5 billion. That's billion with a B. That is the size of the settlement they recently agreed to with authors and publishers, the largest payout for a copyright case in U.S. history. A number like that definitely makes everyone sit up and pay attention.
So what was the critical distinction the judge made here? Well, he basically drew a line in the sand. He ruled that when Anthropic trained its AI on books it got legally, that was a transformative use. The AI wasn't just copying the books, it was using them to learn patterns and create something new. However, the judge also found that Anthropic knowingly used books from pirate sites, and that was a clear copyright violation. The precedent this sets is powerful. It really matters where you get your data from.
To try and make sense of this legal whirlwind, we're going to turn to an expert who studies exactly this: the the messy intersection of technology, media, and the law.
So with all this complexity, with billions of dollars on the line, it is the question on everyone's mind. Who is actually going to come out on top in these huge legal battles?
Well, Dr. Zach McDowell, an assistant professor at the University of Illinois, Chicago, he does not mince words. His prediction is pretty blunt. He thinks the legal tide might be turning against the AI developers and their current, let's call it a take-everything approach to data.
What he's really getting at is that our legal system it wasn't built for this. The technology is moving at light speed, and the law is, well, not. And that's forcing us to ask these fundamental questions, not just about copyright, but about fairness and authorship, and even about basic human rights in this new digital age.
So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? The outcome of these lawsuits isn't just about which corporation wins or loses. It's about two very, very different futures that are hanging in the balance. Think about it. If the publishers and creators win, it could set up new ways for them to get paid and establish much stronger protections for their work. But on the flip side, if the AI developers win, media outlets and individual artists could lose those protections, which threatens the very economic models that support everything from journalism to music. At its core, this is a fight to define the value of human creativity. At the end of the day, all of these lawsuits, all of these arguments, they really force us all to think about one critical question. How do we balance the incredible, undeniable promise of technological innovation with the fair treatment of the human creators whose work is the fuel for that innovation in the first place? The answer to that, well, it's going to define the next chapter of creativity.